what's the theme? It's actually dieting, digital dieting, in the sense of, if we're in a situation now where people look at their devices about 1,500 times a week, and that's an average. So we kind of need to take a break here because something's not quite right. And there's lots of effects that this has. We feel overwhelmed, we feel stressed, we feel tired. The devices we look at emit light frequencies that actually disrupt sleep patterns. It's well known that if you're looking at your phone screen before you go to sleep, you're going to take longer to go to sleep, quite simply because it's emitting this stuff that makes you, behave differently.
Because you've got another few emails coming in that you need to reply to before you go to sleep.
In your case, yeah. And it feels like it's a very imperfect way of living. So if you think about it, if we're looking at our phones 1,500 times a week, that means we're taking our phone out of our pocket, swiping it, unlocking it, going to the right thing 1,500 times a week. That's a lot of time, and it's a lot of actual cognitive load just on your day. I mean, you've been behind somebody in the street who's walking along trying to do something, and they won't get out of the way because they have no idea you're there because they're on their phone, or trying to do something on their phone. It's just extremely distracting. And think about the movie last year, Her, Spike Jonze's film, where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with his operating system. I won't focus on the falling in love part, but the interactivity in that film, the vision of the future that it presented, was one where there was so little interaction. It was just people talked and services listened. And there was no real focus on the screen being in between and mediating that experience. Interesting vision of the future then. And the sort of 1,500 times a week thing shows itself in many different ways, and there's a bit of a backlash towards it now. So there are companies offering digital detox, kind of like summer camp for people who want to get away from their digital services. Kind of ironically, there's an app that has been launched in Singapore where, this is beautiful actually, it's where if you put two phones together over lunch or dinner and use this app, a tree will grow and an image grows on the screen. And it's very, very beautiful, and then apples start forming and stuff. Crucially, if you pick up your phone, it interrupts the growth of the tree and it all starts from scratch. So in other words, it's trying to make people not focus on the screen and focus on being with each other. Apps like Calm and Headspace have been around for a while, but they're really hitting the headlines now, probably because there's a big trend towards mindfulness in general, and we're recognizing this connection with just too much screen time, too many devices around us. And when you look closely at research with sort of younger demographics as well, it's with that kind of age group, it's not so much, we think they're sort of screen hungry and device hungry. It's not so much that. They're just trying to build a profile, build a life, and find connections in the physical world with real people. That's why they're using digital services. It's not just because they're there. So, think about some of the trends that are happening at the moment, some of the things that exemplify this. When, to focus once more on the Apple Watch, the focus has been so much on the hardware, the look of the object itself, the strap, the colors, the features, the windy thing, I've forgotten what it's called.
Digital crown.
Digital crown, thank you. And rumor has it as well that some governments are actually having people work with electric typewriters again. It's not so much a distraction thing, but it's a privacy thing as well. Because if you think about all this screen time, that has privacy implications as well. I know you've got a fantastic anecdote, actually. Just anytime you like, just chip in. And there is actually physical evidence for how damaging this can be. So when you lean forward to look at your device, it puts extra pressure on the spine. And that adds up to about 700, 1,400 hours a year of extra pressure right there. So there's lots of things we should and could think about in response to this kind of trend. So digital dieting being the thing, spend a bit less time with your devices around us. What that means from a design point of view and from a what we recommend point of view is just think about the load you're putting on the people you're designing services for, right? Think about the notifications you're putting out there and the alerts. There's a very fine line between utility and extreme irritation, or just exhaustion. And look at the demands you place on your staff if you're launching services for your employees. It's great to launch a new communications channel in a big company, for example, but think really carefully. Are you adding to something or are you replacing something? Yeah. If you're just adding yet another layer of communication, it's just going to be another thing that you've got to check, another channel that you've got to manage. along with email, along with everything else that you do. So think carefully about that. And then finally, think about when you're distracting the people you're designing for. If you think about it, and you'll all know this, so when you're concentrating really hard on a task, if you're interrupted, it takes about 20 minutes to get back to the same level of concentration you were at before. Multiply that over the day, you've got masses of lost productivity. So think about how you engage with people and design services for them that don't interrupt, that actually encourage and empower people to make the most of the sort of intellectual effort that they actually have to bring to bear on all this.